and welcome to my channel. It's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and this has been a greatly asked for video, and I've figured out how to do it, so here we go. So for my Heaven and Earth designs, I have created labels for my little pots. This is in a 60 bottle case container from Amazon. Not Amazon, ignore me, you can get them on Amazon, but this one is from AliExpress, and this is what I use to hold my drills. Now the sheet that I'm going to show you how to create is sort of an A4 sheet, and what I've then done is cut them into strips so that I can punch out my little labels. So I've printed this on sticker paper, and I've used a 1/2 inch punch. That's the circle punch that I had that fitted on these. You can get bigger labels. I think a 3/4 inch will fit on the top of these, but you would have to manipulate the symbols and stretch them to make them fit in that size. I've used the 1/2 inch because that's what I have, and I didn't have to do any manipulation in regards to the image size. I didn't have to stretch it in any way. So yeah, what it is you take your 1/2 inch punch then on your printed sticker sheet paper, and I'm not sure what colour I'm going to need next, so we'll just punch out one of these, and then you just line your punch up and punch, and there we go. You've got a little sticker then. Peel off the back and pop it on the top of the pot. It shows me the colour, it shows me the DMC number, and it shows me the symbol that my Heaven and Earth Designs uses. So I am going to go into a voiceover in a minute and show you how I created them, but what I used was the colour and symbol sheet. This is something that you can view before you purchase a Heaven and Earth Designs, so you can always have a mess about with this and see how it works for you before you may decide to actually purchase. It's the chart that you end up purchasing. So I've used these, and then of course the symbols, and I have used the numbers because I want the reference to be there. So just to show you what one of the pots looks like closer up, if it will focus. Come on. Is that going to focus? Oh, there we go. So that's what the sticker looks like on the pot closer up. I've got the colour that this one is, I've got the symbol that it uses, and I've got the number. Now what is helpful as well with these is the symbol. If you do have a symbol that can go in multiple directions, so for example this one, I have this one in a couple of different directions. I'm trying to see if I can see. Here we go, we'll use that one as an example. So it's similar, it's not the same. Oh, here we go, here it is. I knew I had 2 of these already cut out. So I have this symbol, which is the triangle. I have it both going down and going up. I'm also pretty sure that I have it going side to side as well. But for illustration purposes, these 2 work. By making these stickers, as long as my numbers are facing the right way up and not facing like that, then I know which way the symbol is, which is partly why I wanted to have the symbols above the numbers. You can choose to completely miss out the colours if you like and just have it as the symbol and the number, but I personally find that the colours look pretty. So see if it will focus back on the case. No, come on camera, you are having trouble today. There we go. So I personally find that this works really well for me, and to lift it up rather than zoom in just looks so pretty. So pretty. So without further ado, I will go into the voiceover part of this and show you how to create an A4 sticker sheet so that you can punch out your own labels. Okay, so for the purposes of this, I am using a Mac, though I am pretty sure everything will work on a PC. So I downloaded a free program called PDF Expert, and I opened up my Heaven and Earth Designs chart. Now for the purposes of this, You can use the sort of colour chart that you do get from Heaven and Earth Designs. You can get it off their website before you download or choose to purchase the pattern. Either way is up to you. So I opened up that chart in PDF Expert and then opened up a blank document in Pages. Again, this will work in Word. It's completely up to yourself which you want to use. Because I have a Mac, I tend to use Pages. So once you have opened up both of those, I lined them up so that I could flip between one and the other. And you want to choose the select option in PDF Expert so that you can basically crop down, select and sort of cut or copy and paste into your blank document. Now, the reason for doing this is while we do have both the colours and the symbols next to each other on the chart, they're not close enough for the purpose of these labels. They're not, the gap between them is too big to be able to fit them in a 1/2 inch circle. So what I did was I selected them. If you do them as close together as you can, on this example, I probably could have done with them being a little bit closer, but you can adjust that in the Arrange tab on Pages. You can actually tell it how close you want them to be, and therefore you can nestle them together. I also copied the numbers, the DMC numbers, and that is mainly for reference. For myself, I did use a different typeface on my labels. You can use the one from this. So mainly they were just placed there so that I didn't get confused on which number and which symbol was which. I didn't want to have to, while creating these labels, I didn't want to have to keep changing about. So what I did was I did this for every single colour on my chart. Now I did have 239 colours, so it did take a little bit longer than it might do for maybe the chart you've chosen. But I made sure that I got them all copied from the master onto my version of Pages. And this is sort of the first step in creating them. It is quite a quick step, this one. The next one does take a little bit longer. And as I say, do try and possibly either make your selections a lot closer, or do try and nudge them over a little bit more than I have done for this example. This was mainly because many people have been asking for a visual of this. You will have more time to be able to mess about and get them into the right sizing. So I'm just doing a page for the purposes of this video, and what I then did was I then exported that document to a PDF. So in Word, I think you have to save it as a PDF. In Pages, you export to a PDF. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to name it LDT for Little Dreamer's Tree. And that is the first step in this process. You want to be able to get your colour symbol and your main symbol very close together. If you're not planning on putting onto your labels the colour, then you could do it straight from the original chart. You would not need this first step. And then what you need to do is open that in PDF Expert. This allows us to copy and paste selections again. And then I've opened up a fresh blank Pages document, and this is where I'll create my labels. So first off, I selected a circle, and then I chose for it to have no fill, and I put a border on it. Now for the purposes of this, I've done a bold border just so that you can see what I'm doing. When I actually created this myself, I did go for the thinnest border, and I did turn it grey just so it was there but not in my face. For the purposes of this label, I am going to set the diameter of this as 1.27 centimetres, which is the same as 1/2 inch. And I did say for it to constrain so that your circle stays as a circle. Otherwise, you'd have to type in both figures. Then what I did personally was I copy and pasted the circles. So I chose to duplicate the selection and created myself a line of these circles. Now, Pages is quite good with its little yellow lines at letting you know that they're all level, which is really good when it comes to cutting out. It's up to you whether you use that or not. As I say, this is just how I made them. If you found an easier way, by all means let me know. Shortcuts are always good, especially if I decide to do this sort of project again. So I'm going to get my first row of those all lined up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose the whole row. I'm going to select the whole row and I'm going to duplicate it as all one row, so I don't have to take this step every time. It's up to you how big the gap is on each of these. Again, a lot of that is all personal preference. If you'd like more space around them so that you know you've got enough room to cut lines in between, so that you can get your punch there to punch them out when they're printed on sticker paper, by all means do that. So this is where I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to choose to duplicate the selection again. Now, as long as I don't click off that, it will allow me to move it all in one row. So I've just moved it down further down. I personally only did 2 rows, and then I moved the circles down as I went along. You could create a whole page of circles and use that. Then going back to PDF editor, I have just selected the colour and the symbol, and I'm going to move that into my little circle. So I will zoom in here for you now so that you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer. I chose to centre back so that the circle was on the top. You don't have to do that. That was just a little bit visually easier for me. I do move the circle before I print them out anyway. And then to show you that you can copy and paste and use the symbol straight off the Heaven and Earth Designs chart, this is what I'm doing here. And you can use that one straight. Just do copy and paste for everything and move it over. You can see there on that first symbol where actually if I'd have got the symbols a little bit closer together, it might have looked a little bit better. But again, that is personal preference. It still fits in the circle. So for the purposes of the next one, I'm going to show you how I created my numbers. I felt like the gaps, the spacing between the numbers on the chart was a little bit too big for the label. So all I've done is I've added a text box, and then I'm going to type in the number that I'm working on using the PDF that I've created as reference, and I lowered that down to 8 points. So I'm not sure what the point stands for, but basically size 8 is what I lowered that down to. And then I'm going to make my text box smaller so that I can of course manipulate that around in my little circle. And I'm going to pop that underneath. And to me that just seemed a little bit closer together, and the number was also more of a solid font. So I found it was a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to do one more for the purposes of this video. You would not want to sit here while I did 239. I don't even want to do 239 again. It is a process that took a while, but if you've got a movie on or a film on or your favourite TV show, it's not too bad. And then what I actually did for the purposes of these labels is I just duplicated the text box that I'd already done and then changed the number, and then I moved on. So I did all of the row, and then I personally moved the circles down. So I took them off the labels as shown and I moved them down, which meant that I knew I would be able to fit my punch inside them, but I didn't have that border where if I punched it off a little bit off centre, it would show. And then I personally used the thinner border as I've just shown you, and I used it in grey. So that's how I printed them. I did find with there being so many images on it that I did only get halfway down the page before I felt it was getting a bit slow. So therefore what I did then was I saved it and just opened a new Word document. So for the purposes of mine, I had 2. It's up to you how your computer and your program works as to how many you end up doing. But I hope that helps. So as mentioned in that little voiceover of how I made mine, this is just how I made my labels. If you do only want the symbol, then you can always just use the same way but miss out the first step completely. Select the symbol and paste it into a circle that suits your size of whatever you need. You can always type the numbers in if, like me, you want to know which way up the symbol faces. It's completely up to yourself how, but hopefully that video will help you decide, or at least give you a starting point. I say I quite like them with the colours and the symbols. I think they look pretty. Of course the symbols would be bigger if I just did them on their own. However, with my design I could possibly get some the wrong way around, which would possibly not be a good thing. But anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch. Any questions or comments, or any hints and tips, even if you found that you've created them in a slightly different way and maybe made, you know, things are a little bit quicker, please pop them in the comments below, and then anybody watching this video can always go and have a look and see if the hints and tips will help them. And maybe it'll make the process quicker for me if I decide to do it again. Though whether I do it with 239 colours, time will tell. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.